All right, my friends. Yesterday we learned also about this idea of tzorat, and the Rebbe. I'll just to refresh everybody's memory. This is a speech given by the Lubavitcher Rebbe in 1991. 1991, and just like in this year, the two Torah portions, Tazria Matzor, were joined together, and the Rebbe said that the Torah is a book of teaching. That's the Torah means teaching. So every word in the Torah is very vital and it's very timely and important and relevant to each and every one of us. So what can be possibly the message over here? We just finished learning that this Tzorat, which that's the topic of these two Torah portions, doesn't exist today. So what's the point? So the Rebbe says, well, first of all, it says in the Talmud in Sanhedrin that the Mashiach is called Tzorat. He is called for lack of a better word, a leper. And the reason is because he bears all of our pain and our sins, all this prophecy from Isaiah. Mashiach is called a leper. But also the exile is called a leper. The exile is called leprosy. Tzorat is the exile. So Mashiach is like the ultimate good. He's going to really fix, he's going to be a true leader that's going to reset everybody's priorities and everybody's paradigms and everything. Mashiach, going to teach the whole world how to be human, how close it is and accessible it is for everyone to realize all their potential. Mashiach, ultimate good. He's called a Tzorat. He's called a Metzora. He is Tzorat. And the ultimate bad, which is exile, the exile is a time when all the Jewish people are like in a coma. Like in a coma, you ever see? So being in a coma, that's really bad. You know, you're totally dependent on all these machines that are pumping life into you all the time. And you're unconscious and you don't know, once in a while, the guy in the coma, he says a word or something, has some sort of a dream. Nobody knows what's going on down there. That's the Jewish people now. So that's the worst. So that's the worst and the best. What's going on? So the Rebbe said, also in our Torah portions, it's all confused. It starts off, Ishat Kitazriya, a woman gives birth. That's like the redemption, giving birth. Then after that, the whole Torah portion, the first Torah portion talks about Tzorat. That's bad. That's like death. Then the next Torah portion, it begins with the name death, Tzorat. And the end talks about how it becomes refined. So the whole thing is jumbled around. The first Torah portion talks about the redemption, and the second Torah portion is named exile. What the exile comes after the redemption, what's going on? And in the Torah portion itself, it starts off good. The first one starts off good, and then it becomes bad, and then the second one begins bad, it comes out good. So the Rebbe says like this. This is where we got up to now. Really, the fact of the matter is that God is good. Like we said before, every human being is good. We just don't see it. The future redemption will reveal all this. That's like the birth. Isha Kitazriya. That's how it starts off. Isha Kitazriya. She gives birth. Then after that, it talks about the exile. What does it mean? It talks about the exile? That we realize that the exile comes because we didn't see God. It was such a high level of godliness that we couldn't see it. So after there's the redemption, then we start to see this high level of godliness. That's like Tzorat. Then after that, we realize that the Tzorat, that the whole reason that we had the redemption was because we suffered through the exile, and the exile was bad. And that then the next stage is that we realize how good the exile really was, that it really did come from these high levels of godliness. And finally, we transform the bad to good. That's the final metaher, the Metzora. So we start to realize not only that the bad wasn't really so bad, it caused us to do good things, but we realize that the bad itself was really good. And that's the thing we can't comprehend now. How can you comprehend that the Holocaust was good? The destruction of the temple was good. Makes no sense to say anything like that. So it's like, how do you want to say? It's cruel to say anything like that. No, it's beyond cruel that it was good. But when Mashiach comes, we'll realize that it was good. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, he wrote in his diary, I'm sorry, not in his diary. It's a letter that he wrote to the Nasi of Israel. The president of Israel wanted to come and visit him, or the president of Israel wrote to the Rebbe letters, and the Rebbe wrote back to him, and he said, "You'll have to excuse me for not calling you Kavod HaNasi." Nasi in Israel, the word for president is Nasi. It says, because in my mind, the only Nasi that there can really be is the Mashiach. And he said, I want you to know that this is before I was 3 years old, right? Before I went to school, I already had it woven in my mind how Mashiach is going to come and explain all of the suffering of the Jewish people. How Mashiach is going to come. And so he's going to do something impossible. It says, that's a Nasi. Explain. If I was implying this myself, that the Rebbe was saying to him, if you can explain all of the suffering of the Jewish people to my satisfaction, I'll call you Nasi also. Yeah, I'll call you Nasi, but you can't. No, you can't do it. You can't, how can you explain it? And the Rebbe said that nowadays, any attempt to explain the Holocaust is wrong, right? Is wrong. Some people say, well, it was because the people sinned, because of this. A father doesn't do things like that to his children. Okay, so that's what it means. The redemption will show us how the Metzora was really a good thing. Okay, Amor La'il, that what we said before, Kashur, is attached in Perek Sheni D'Avos, with the second chapter of Pirkei Avot. Pirkei Avot is the ethics of the fathers. We read this all the days between Passover and Shavuot. We read it. All religious Jews read it from between Passover and Shavuot, and there's some that read it beyond Shavuot until Rosh Hashanah. Chabad also does. We read until Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so what does it say over there? That it begins that Rebbe Omer Ezehi Derech Yesharash Yibor Lo Adam Kol Shu Tiferes Lo Sea V'Tiferes Lo Min Adam. Anything which is okay. Again, what is the straight path that a person should choose for himself? That which is beautiful to himself and beautiful for others. Right? In other words, it fits your conscience, and everyone also says that it benefits everyone. That's what it says. Who says this? Rebbe. What is the straight path? A path that benefits yourself and benefits others. It's beautiful to you and it's beautiful to others. So he says. Let's understand a little bit what this mission is. Ezu derech yashar. Well, first of all, what does it mean? This is a book of the Torah, and the Torah is saying, what is a straight path that a person should take? What do you mean a straight path that a person should take? We have the Torah, and the Torah is a straight path. It says, no, what's good for you and other people. So maybe we have to worry about peer pressure. What's going on over what everybody says? What if everybody they're against religious people? They don't like religious people, so we should. What does it mean? Says the Rebbe. Let's understand this a little bit. First of all, Ezu derech yashara. What does it mean? Which is a straight path that a person should take? The Torah is filled with it. It says Yesharim Darchei Hashem. The ways of God are straight. Learn the Torah, do the commandments. There's ample direction in the Torah to tell us what to do, right? Don't steal, don't kill, 10 commandments, right? Help others, you have to give charity. What's the question? Why did Rebbe have to explain what is the straight path that a person should take? What does it mean, Sheyibor lo Adam? That a person, Adam should take. Adam is the highest level. We just finished learning that. Shlema the Kula, completion of everything, like we said before. This is only for Adam. Only perfect people should do this, but not everybody. Number three, what's the connection between Rebbe? Why did Rebbe have to say it? Who was Rebbe? Rebbe was Rabbeinu HaKodesh. That was Rebbe Yehuda Nasi. If you remember, that was one of the people that the Gemara says that if Mashiach comes from the living, it'll be Rebbe Yehuda Nasi. And if he comes from someone who was already dead, if the Mashiach will raise from the dead, then it'll be Daniel. That's what Mashiach says. That's what the Talmud says, I'm sorry. So, but who says this? Rebbe Yehuda Nasi. Kafi, what's he got to do with this? And why was he called Rebbe? And he's not called Rebbe Yehuda Nasi. He's always called Rebbe. Yesh Lomar, we can explain that it means like this. According to what we said before, that what's going to happen when the Mashiach comes. Rebbe, Rabbeinu HaKodesh, it says in his time that if the Mashiach comes from those who are alive, it will be Rabbeinu HaKodesh, because he suffered. That even though that he was a tremendous chassid and etc., and he finished all of his work, nevertheless he suffered. And that's going to be Mashiach. Mashiach is going to be a person that's going to be perfect, going to know the whole Torah and everything, but he's going to suffer the sufferings of everybody else. Chaloya Galut, the exile. Just like Mashiach. Sheshamo, that the Mashiach is called, like we said before, he's called the leper. She'imi, also that even though he's the ultimate level of purity and highness, nevertheless, he suffers the pain of all of the other Jews in the world that they are in exile. But Tochan Mamoro says, Rebbe says, Ezi derech yashar sheyibor lo adam. What is the straight path that a person should take? Ha-adam, this is referring to Ha-adam mazed, this person, that he's on such a tremendously high level. When a person corrects himself totally and fixes up everything that he has, and only just a little bit of bad is still remaining, just like we learned in Likkutei Torah, mitzad inyan hagalus. Why? Because the fact is he's perfect, but still he's in exile, just like Rebbe. He can't free himself from the pains of everybody else, from his obligation and his empathy with all the rest of the Jewish people. Nowadays, this is the last generation of the heels of the Mashiach. Shekavar Nistaimu, we've already finished everything that we have, all the work we had to do. As Yeshlom, we can say that all the Jewish people are on this level. You have to realize what is the Rebbe saying over here. The Rebbe is not just saying poetic statements and we reached the redemption, things like that. The Rebbe is saying a fact. The Rebbe is saying a fact. The Rebbe is saying that every Jew, not only potentially, but how do you say, much closer to the surface than even potentially. It just has to be revealed, like we learned about circumcision. Everything is there. You just have to open up the curtain, remove the foreskin, so to speak, and you see that everything is prepared. So the question is, since we've already finished all of our deeds, everything in the time of the exile, we've suffered enough, we've done enough commandments. Maya derech hashem. That's what Rebbe is asking. Rebbe is saying he's the Mashiach. He says he was the Mashiach. And the Rebbe is saying we've already suffered all the sufferings. We've already been through all the trials and tribulations and frustrations and disappointments and heartbreaks. So now, what is the straight way, the easiest way from all the ways that a person, all the Jewish people can complete the service in order to reveal the Mashiach? Huh? I mean, if you look, you see there's a lot of confusion, a tremendous amount of confusion in the world. Tremendous confusion in the world. And people are calling bad good. Right? In America now, there's this thing that the police are bad and the criminals are good. We have to be lenient with criminals. People that steal like less than $400 from a store, you don't even bring them to court because the judge will just let them go. It's just a waste of time. It's a minor crime. And there's crimes that are even worse, and they let people go, which is not the case. The police, they're evil guys, and they're cruel, and we have to defund the police. So everything is like upside down. Everything is so how can you say that everything has already been refined and everything is pure and everything is good and everything is this? There's people pass away. A good friend of mine just passed away a couple of days ago. What does the Rebbe mean? So the Rebbe says, listen, the fact of the matter is the Mashiach is, one second. We just have to do our little thing and Mashiach will come. Sorry, I got to go. And they said, well, 1 second, what are we supposed to do? Call me up. I'll talk. The Rebbe is saying, that's what Rebbe asked the same question. Rabbeinu HaKodesh, he was Mashiach. What is the straight path that we can take, the easy path that we can take to just do that last thing and, make a good world? The answer is Kol Shi Tiferes Lo Sel. The answer is everything which is beautiful to the one who's doing it and beautiful from others. Beauty, this refers to the Torah. Tiferet Zematan Torah, Shemitzad Gadol Malasa, because of the greatness of the Torah and its power to join all opposites. We said Rotza V'Shol, remember, wanting to cling only to God and to forget the world, and on the other hand, wanting to just totally be in the world and not to be connected, to be practical. To be practical in the world and to not to deal with God. And we see this especially in Israel, and both sides have a good point, right? You got the religious people that say, these non-religious people, they don't even keep Shabbat. They're so concerned with money and their own pleasures and everything. And who needs them? We're religious. Then you have the other people who are not religious and say, those religious people, they don't get anything done. They don't get anything done. If it was religious people, we'd be attacked by the enemy. They don't have any army. They don't have anything. What are you supposed to do? So the answer is, says the Mashiach, says the Mashiach, that was Rabbeinu HaKodesh. And the Rebbe is also Mashiach. And he's saying, you have to do what's Tiferes Adam. What does it mean? You have to do according to the Torah. And the Torah has the ability to unite two opposites. Namely, coming close to God and being totally attached to God all the time. And Tiferes Lo Sel, being down Tiferes Lo Adam. That's Tiferes Lo Sel. That means beauty to God, to yourself, and also to others going outside. Sha'orot Elyonim, these high lights should be drawn down into vessels. In other words, the reason that you are kind is because God says you should be. The reason that you have an army is because God says you should. The reason that you are strong is because God wants you to be. The reason that you have a country and a government is because that's what God wants. So you do all the physical things because God says and the way that God says. But in order to do that, you have to be inspired by God. How do you do that? That's the Torah. By means of this, you can reveal the truth, the true reason why there is exile. That the exile was really tremendously highlights in a way, in such a way that there won't be any potential possibility for exile afterwards. Geula, there will be a redemption, that there's not any exile which comes after it. V'yesh lo osif, and we can also add on in the explanation why that the Torah, which we said Tiferet L'Adam, that is beautiful. The Torah is called beauty. Why is it called beauty? Because it unites all these different opposites. Derech Yeshara, this is the straight way to reveal and to bring Mashiach, like it says before, that the Mashiach is Yeshnam. The Mashiach himself has these two qualities. Number one, he's a king, Melech HaMashiach. And he also, Mashiach is going to be a teacher. He's going to be a Rav, that he's going to teach Torah to all the people. Achiluk, the difference between being a king and to being a teacher is the idea of a king, of that aspect of the Mashiach, that he's a king. This indicates al hashpa ba'ofen makif, that he's above everybody. Just the fact that he's there already puts fear and awe into everyone. Shanas al yadei abitl the kabbalas ol malchuto, that everybody just surrenders to the king. That's what the king is. But on the other hand, the Mashiach is also going to be a teacher. The whole thing of the teacher is a good teacher cares about his pupils. He cares about that his pupils should understand. So he teaches according to the level and the nature and the personality and the ability to receive of each and every pupil. The idea of a teacher is not a king. A king is above everybody. A teacher comes down to everyone. It's in a way of panimi, inside, personal, that's made by means of learning Torah until it's ke'ilu yoldo. It says that a teacher is as though he gives birth to the pupil. It's an inner connection. Yesh Lomer, we can say, shetziruf sheneim, like being a king and being a teacher. This is what's called makif, a surrounding level and an inner, intimate level. Together, Mora indicates shagam or orot elyonim, that also these upper lights which are above the world, can be drawn into the world. That a king can, one person embodies both of these two opposites simultaneously. This is the power, that's in the power of the Torah, that's Tiferet. And that's what Rabbeinu HaKodesh was saying. What's Tiferet La'adam, mean that the Torah has the ability to make, to bring what is good to you, namely your connection to God, and good to others, to bring that same connection out into the world, the Torah. We're talking about the two aspects of the Torah. The written and the oral Torah, what's called the external Torah, the Talmud, etc., and the teachings of Hasidut, which that's how to connect to the Creator, how to understand what the Creator is, the deeper aspects of the Creator. Now we can also attach this to the month of Iyar. Month of Iyar. That's going to be what? Tomorrow is the last day of Nisan, and Shabbat will be the first day of Iyar, Rosh Chodesh. Chodesh Iyar, the month of Iyar, this is the second month of the year. First month of the year is Nisan. Shabon Asis Avoda Milamata Lamaila. That this is in the months where we're working from below to above. After the revelation from above to below. What happened on Passover? God revealed himself and began to take the Jewish people out of Egypt. Took them out, split the sea. And that was the month of Nisan. The month of Iyar is unique because every day there's the commandment of counting the Omer. We talked a little bit about this counting the Omer. Remember, we talked about this. That's the refining of what's called the animal soul, work we have to do on our own. God took us out of Egypt. He revealed all these big miracles, did all these amazing signs, and brought bread down from heaven, etc. I mean, actually, the bread from heaven came a little bit later. They ate the matzah for a while, but God took us out of Egypt and he gave us water from a rock and split the sea. God did the whole business himself. The Jews did nothing. They just followed after God. That's from above to below. The month of Iyar, we start to serve from below to above. We're counting the Omer. We have to start working on ourselves. After there was the revelation from above to below, when God revealed from above in the month of Nisan, Shabbat, that in it, there were all sorts of miracles for the Jewish people, until the ultimate miracle that God took them out of Egypt, Nigla Lehem Melech Malchem Lachim, the king who was the king of all of the other kings, God, and he took them out of Egypt. That's Nisan is the month of Geula, that came to show that God does miracles. God cares about the world. God does everything. But the problem is God did everything. We didn't do anything. Yesh Lomar, we can say that in the month of Iyar, that's when we started doing it. We were on our own. That in the months of Nisan and Iyar is stressed the connection and the joining between two of them. The revelation, the highest revelations of the month of Nisan, miracles, God proves that he exists. But they're drawn down by means of our service from below to above. We have to do our part. Be partners to God. This power to join them both together, this comes from a level which is above both of them. The ability to receive miracles, no good. The ability to serve God from below to above, do it on our own, also we can do. But how can we join both of these together? There has to be something above even the revelations of Passover. Like it's explained in the Rosh, that in the Sphira of the second day of Iyar, which is the first day of the month of Iyar after Rosh Chodesh, it says Tiferet Shebet Tiferet. The second day, base Iyar, is Tiferet Shebet Tiferet. This is also the day, the birthday of the fourth Rebbe of Chabad. Sha'al Yadada, by means of this, there's joined these two soul movements of what's called running, going closer to God, that's the upper lights, and Shuv, coming back down into the world. That's the vessels, the cave in. And since that these revelations, these high revelations in the month of Nisan, which that's the month of redemption, are drawing down below by means of the service of man, this negates the possibility of exile. But there will come a total redemption. There can't be anything after it, because what's the idea of redemption? Feeling the truth. And the truth is that both of them are necessary, the revelation of God together with our service. And that is symbolized by the 2 months of Nisan and Iyar. And even more, the month of Iyar are the first letters of Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and Rachel. These are what's called the 4 feet, or the 4 feet of God's throne, or of God's chariot. This is what the three fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, this refers to Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. This corresponds to God's 3 aspects, Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet. These are lights coming from above to below. God's kindness is Abraham, God's severity and awe, that's Yitzchak, and God's beauty, that's Yaakov. And Rachel, that's the vessels. Rachel, that's the only female. Female is a vessel for the, like Mother Earth we said before. That's the 4th foot of the chariot of God, that by means of this it's complete. This is what's called Malchut, the lowest of God's aspects. This is Knesset Yisrael. This represents the Jewish people. These are the vessels. Just like God is the giver, he's the light, and all the Jewish people, they're the vessel. Jewish people, they're feminine. That's the whole theme of the Song of Songs of King Solomon. The Jewish people, they're the bride, and God is the groom. And it's the love song between them. Yesh Lomar, we can say that this joining them together, this indicates on the revelation of lights and vessels. Iyar, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, that's the lights, and Rachel as the vessels. That shows lights and vessels, the same thing as Nisan, which that's the lights coming down, and Iyar is the vessels receiving it. The Rachel, that shows on the highness of our service of God, what we do, the vessels from below, the Jewish people, all the time of exile. Our work we have to do, that's symbolized by Rachel. That's why she's crying. It says, Rachel mavakeh et baneh. Rachel is crying for her children. Enenu, that they're not, what does it mean, enenu? It says eneno, he is not. What does it mean? It doesn't say enenu, that we are not. Eneno, that God is not revealed here. Because God, so to speak, in the time of exile, he goes away, and Neno, he is not, goes up. But by means of Rachel, by means of Rachel crying, and that she wants to do everything possible to make God revealed, that's our service now in the time of exile. That's what it means, crying, because God is not here. From this comes the Geula, our striving, our longing for the redemption. But Meshech HaTov, like it says, Yesh schar lepu'uloteich, shabu banim legevulech gevulam. It says there is a reward for your deeds. Return, your sons will return back to their boundaries. That's written on her grave. There's a thing hanging on her grave over there. That's the prophecy over there in Isaiah. Where is this? 1 second. Yes, 1 second. Yeah, sorry, it's in Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu. It's not in, it's Yirmiyahu. And so Rachel, the whole thing of Rachel, why is she crying? Because Rachel also, she's crying. It says how long has she been crying already? For almost 4,000 years, she's been crying. And that's the Jewish people. We've been crying since then also because we're in exile. God is not revealed as he's supposed to be, that these tremendously high, by means of what Rachel is doing in the time of exile, will come the future redemption. There is a reward. It says that all the sons, all the Jewish people will come back to Israel. These upper lights of godliness, which used to fill up the consciousness of every single Jew, they went higher and higher. That's really the true idea of exile. We don't know who we are. Well, the redemption is they'll all come back. They'll all be drawn below, right? Like a person is in a coma, all of a sudden he just wakes up. By means of this, that shows there won't even be the possibility that there can be any wrong decisions or or what's called yanika lechitzonium, any bad deeds, thoughts, actions, feelings like Rachel. Nelma, it says that the word Rachel also means a sheep. And now in the time of exile, Rachel, the Jewish people, are like a sheep that's being sheared. If you've ever seen pictures of a sheep being sheared, it's really quite amazing. Sometimes they have these sheep shearing contests, like in, Australia and these different places. And these people who know how to shear sheep tremendously fast. If you take a sheep and hold on to the sheep, you grab a sheep, it's totally quiet. The sheep just becomes totally passive and allows itself to be, it doesn't struggle or make any difficulties. As soon as you grab onto the sheep and you hold on to it, it doesn't struggle to get free. Says that's the Jewish people. Now the Jewish people are in exile, so we're silent. We're, how do you say, submissive. We're like a sheep in front of the shearers, and the whole world is just shearing us. Right? They're taking the benefits from the Jewish people and shearing away our holiness, and we're just quiet. We don't do anything. But then, when the idea of revealing the true identity of the Jewish people, there won't be such a thing anymore. There won't be, so the Jewish people won't be quiet anymore because we'll have what to say. We'll have who our identity is. Now we're just happy to be sheared, right? At least somebody's paying attention to me. That's so happy. Until the Hepechatara, until it'll be the opposite of purity in the time of exile. Ki'im, but exactly the opposite. Shabbat, there will be a redemption that there's not after it any exile. And that we're going to continue tomorrow. Tomorrow, God willing, we'll try to finish this. A little bit long, but we will try to finish it. But you know what? Because maybe we can do the Yom Yom here. I said I wasn't going to do it, but I see we finished on time. Let's stop the share.